The next book I read was also 5 stars, and that is Teeth by Hannah Moskowitz. Where do I even start with this book? Okay, so there's this magical island. Well, there's this island, and in the ocean around it, there are these magical fish called Enki. And if you eat them, whatever illness you have will go away. You will become absolutely healthy. But you have to keep eating them, because once you stop eating them, you kind of backslide into the way you were before. So there's this boy called Rudy, and he's about 17, and his family goes to this island because his little brother Dylan has cystic fibrosis, and they can't get a lung transplant, and so this is kind of like their last resort to keep him alive long enough for them to have a lung transplant. And so he arrives, and this island is kind of really mysterious, and there's no one else there his age, or so he thinks. And they have this really rickety old house by the sea, and at night he can hear screaming. And after he's been there for a few weeks, he meets this merboy called Teeth. And hit myself in the face. That's what this book does. After he's been there for a few weeks, he meets this merboy called Teeth and starts to unravel kind of the mysteries of Teeth himself and the fish and the island and just all of the secrecy. And it gets really, really, really intense. If you're at all triggered by torture or sexual abuse, this book probably isn't for you. It's just, I can't even really talk about this. I can't articulate how it made me feel, because I love it, but it's so painful. It didn't have a happy ending at all, and kind of not in the way you would expect it to not have a happy ending. And in some ways it was happy, and oh my God. But I will say that this is the book I've been searching for my entire life. Fish boy, other boy, they kind of fall in love. There's mystery and adventure and rescuing, and I have been searching for this literally my entire reading life. Literally, this is the book that I've been waiting for, and I'm so sad that it's so short, and I'm gonna have to read it again probably quite soon, because it just gets under your skin and doesn't go away. And yeah, this is probably the worst summary of a book ever, but please read this, because it is, well, it's brutal, but it's also really, really beautiful and definitely worth reading. The next book I read, I also gave 5 stars to, and that book is Miss Marvel Volume 2, Generation Y by G. Willow Wilson and Adrienne Arjona. Okay, this volume was even better than the first one. Kamala is trying to find out about this mysterious person called the Inventor, who is terrorizing her and her friends, trying to take over the world as supervillains do. And she kind of finds out more about her powers and why she has them, and stuff like that. And I just really, really enjoyed it. I am the worst at summarizing graphic novel plot lines. And while she's investigating the Inventor, she meets Wolverine, who is one of her top 5 superheroes ever. So she's just kind of like fangirling. And that part was really, really sweet. Wolverine is just like a total softie in this. I don't know if he is normally, but if he is, I'm definitely going to have to read some Wolverine comics, because I loved that so much. And he kind of really liked her as well. He didn't kind of just write her off as a stupid teenage girl. Even when he found out that she wrote fan fiction about him and was like a total fangirl and stuff like that, he still really, really respected her and kind of liked her as a person, and didn't belittle her or treat her as if she was inferior in any way, which I really, really enjoyed. And I hope he's going to be in this more, because that was perfect. There's also a short cameo by Captain America, and also she has this kind of superhero giant dog that can teleport, and he was just the cutest thing. I love him so much. What I also really liked about this is that it was like a social commentary. So it's like everything that the older generation, in Australia we call them baby boomers. I'm not sure if that's what they're called in other parts of the world, but just kind of like that generation, about how they think that this generation, Generation Y, is technology obsessed and lazy and not driven and isn't going to amount to anything, and baby boomers are the best generation ever and Generation Y are the worst. And just it's such an annoying thing to live, because baby boomers got their education for free. Now we have to pay thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for ours. They went to uni for free. We don't get to do that. By the time they were 21, they could own a house and a car and be married with 2 kids and be financially stable, and that we have no way in hell of doing that unless we've been born into a rich family. They fucked up the economy. The retiring age just keeps going up and up and up, so there are literally no jobs for us to go into. So that's why we have youth unemployment, and just they've ruined the world, basically. Everything that is wrong with the world is directly or indirectly caused by them, and they blame us. And it's fucking annoying. And that's what this is also about. The inventor is a baby boomer. Kamala is Generation Y, and it's about saying, no, the things you are blaming us for, we didn't do. That was all you, and we are here trying to fix your mess, and we're going to be left with the mess that you created. And you have the gall to call us lazy and not driven when you just took everything for yourselves and left nothing for us. And I've never seen that done in a novel or in a graphic novel, and it was amazing. I was just reading it, just I wanted to, get out there and start preaching on the streets, basically, because everything that's in this is everything that I believe in, and it was amazing. And I am so grateful to G. Willow Wilson, whoever they are, for having the gall to write this, for being brave enough to actually put this on paper and say, I'm standing with you, I know how you feel, I know what it's like for you, because I see this happening and it's not your fault. Baby boomers are telling you it's your fault, and it's not your fault, and I'm going to tell you why it's not your fault, and that you are not alone and you can fight it, and it's okay for you to rise up against the older generation because they deserve it. And yeah, so if Volume 1 left you a little bit unsure about this series and you didn't know if it was going to be worth picking it up again, definitely pick this one up, because let me tell you, it absolutely is. And I'm just so excited to see what else comes from this series, because I really think that it's going to be one of the all-time classics. It's fabulous. And the next one that I read is not quite so socially minded, and that is Batgirl Volume 1, World's Finest, by Gail Simone, Adrian Syaf, and Vincent Cifuentes. Whoops, probably butchered that. Okay, so this was my first introduction to Batgirl. I knew literally nothing about her before I read this, and I really, really enjoyed it. Actually, no, that's a lie. I knew that her roommate was transgender, but that's all. Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I'm definitely going to read the rest of the series, because Batgirl is badass, and I really like, is it Alicia or Alicia? I'm not sure. Alicia, I'm going to go with Alicia. I really like her roommate. Alicia is so funny, and just so caring, and just the best kind of roommate ever. She's the one that you would want to have. And I really liked how Batgirl she was shot by the Joker in the spine and lost the use of her legs, and so she was in a wheelchair. And even though she had some miracle surgery and got out of the wheelchair, she's still plagued by that, and she still kind of remembers what it was to be in the wheelchair, and how having her legs is an amazing thing, but also being in a chair wasn't the worst thing in the world. It's able-bodied people have this idea that people in wheelchairs are confined by their chairs, when really the wheelchair gives them freedom and independence. It allows them to move around in a way that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. That was touched on a few times in this, and I hope it's kind of like a running theme throughout the series, because yeah, I think that's a really important message, and a way that people's thinking needs to change. Okay, so the premise of this is she's out of the wheelchair and she's trying to get back into her Batgirl mojo. She's kind of going out and fighting crime and making a resurgence, and also dealing with family issues and PTSD and stuff like that. And it was really good. It was, yeah. Again, I'm the worst at giving graphic novel summaries, but it was really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. General rule, I don't give first volumes 5 stars because there's always room for improvement. I'm definitely going to pick up the rest of this, and I think she's going to become one of my favourites. The next book that I read is Angel Fall by Susan E., which I've had for about a year now, but I haven't picked up. I'm really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I have this idea in my head that books that are internet phenomenons are going to turn out to be crap. Probably that comes from 50 Shades of Grey, but then I read one that is actually really good, like this one, or like Captive Prince, and I'm reminded of the fact that half of what I read is fan fiction, so why would any other internet story phenomenon not be as good as the fan fiction I read? And it's something that I need to just get into my brain. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I still have a lot of questions. I wish we found out why the angels came to Earth. I want to know why. Hopefully I find that out in the next book. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I'm really curious about the mythology of the angels because I asked my dad, who's a minister, and he said it doesn't come from the Bible, but there's certain conventions that everyone who writes an angel book follows. So I'm gonna have to Google that and find out where that came from and find out a bit more about it, because yeah, there were just elements of this that are familiar from every other angel book I've ever read, but I have no idea where this mythology comes from. So yeah, I really liked Rafi. Gotta say, knew who he was. As soon as I found out his name was Rafi, I was like, yep, I know what that's a nickname for, and I was right. I really enjoyed Penryn. I thought she was a really good heroine. She was equal mixture of strong and also terrified as anyone would be. The only complaint I have about this book is that I'm not entirely sure whether her mother is necessary. Her mother has schizophrenia and is paranoid and thinks she's being chased by demons, and I'm hoping that has a greater significance in the next 2 books than it did in this one, because I felt a little bit like maybe if Penryn's mother wasn't there, it wouldn't have changed the story too much. Like, I don't know. And I've never met a person with schizophrenia, so I'm not entirely sure if this is an accurate portrayal, so I have a feeling maybe it's not, but again, I don't know. But I was just kind of a little bit uncomfortable with the characterization of Penryn's mother. I hope that the world building kind of gets more advanced in the next 2 books, because if it does, that is going to be excellent. But until then, yeah, definitely enjoyed this, and I wish I picked it up sooner. But I also don't, because the 3rd book just came out and then I'd have to wait. No, I don't, so I read this at the right time. The last book that I read, I've been reading for like 5 months. Oh my god. And that is The Lies of Lockemora by Scott Lynch. I was going to do this as a read-along called #LamoraAlong in February. That didn't happen. I'm literally the worst at read-alongs. Do not ever invite me into a read-along, because I will not read the book in the month I'm supposed to read it. It just doesn't happen. And it's not like a conscious choice, it just doesn't happen, and I'm really sorry. Anyway, I finally finished this last night. Oh my goodness. So much happens. So many people die. You come to care about these characters and then they die and you're like, what? Why is this happening to them? But it was so good. I cannot believe that this is Scott Lynch's debut novel. The scale of the world building and just the intricacies of the heists that they pull off, and just schemes upon schemes upon schemes, and I'm in awe of anyone who can write a book like this, like A Song of Ice and Fire or Gone Girl. It just requires so much thought and so much planning, and it's probably something I'm never going to be able to do, but I love reading books like this because they're just so intricate and have layers upon layers upon layers of things to kind of analyze and think about and be surprised at, and it was fabulous. If you're a fan of high fantasy, definitely pick this one up because it's just fantastic. I would have liked for there to be a few more women in it, but that's okay, because all of the ones that were in here were really well-rounded characters, and it was absolutely fabulous. And I now have a ship for this series, so you know it's good when I have a ship. It's not. I'm probably supposed to be shipping Locke and Sabitha, but I do not. Locke and Jean, that's my jam. Anyway, I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, mostly because there were certain parts that were interesting, but kind of not interesting enough to make me unable to put the book down. it did take me 5 months to read it because it's just so dense and so much is happening, and sometimes when you're tired you just want to read like Colleen Hoover, not this. So yeah, but it's really good. I'm really excited to see where the second one goes, but I'm maybe gonna take like a year off perhaps, because I need a break after this one because it was brutal. By the end it was so brutal and just every single page hurt. But yeah, I'm so glad to finally have this off my TBR, and I'm so glad that I read it. I never would have read it if not for BookTube, and just, yeah, genuinely really, really great. One of the best high fantasies I've ever read, and you should all read it. Okay, so there's this guy called Lockemora, and he has this kind of group of gentlemen bastards, and they ostensibly they're priests of a certain god in the pantheon of the place where they live, but they're also thieves, and they kind of cook up these schemes to steal thousands and thousands of crowns from the nobility, and they get away with it too. And it's just, yeah, really, really enjoyable, you know, adventure, heists, all that good stuff. So many other people have done better reviews of this than me, so maybe go and check those out. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I feel so accomplished that I finally read all of it. So yeah, that is the last book for this wrap up. Hopefully this isn't too long. That's all for me for this video. Bye everyone.